Detective Comics 1047, Mariko Tamaki writing with Ivan Reis on the art for the main story here. So this is the first part of our 12-part weekly Detective Comics story that will run till the end of March, give or take. And interesting start here, I thought, because it does this thing where it's kind of jumping back and forth from like after the crisis starts and kind of some build up to it. And I imagine it's going to keep doing that for a bit. I imagine there's going to be more backstory to reveal as we go through these issues. Maybe the entire thing, but really
I do like that you have to pay attention to what day it is too, because it starts off with day 1. By the end, we're at day 27, so it's a lot of time in between.
It's day 24.
Gaps. Or is it 24? Yeah. I knew it was a variable.
Also, it starts on day 7, not 1.
Well, again, I knew it was a variable of.
That's where the 7 came from.
Yeah, that's probably 100% probably where it came from.
Yeah, we're introduced to Dr. Ware, who's the guy who's actually running the tower, and he's making this big song and dance. He's got a speech, and he actually brings out, here's our great success story so far, and he brings out this criminal. And I do appreciate that it made it very clear who this was, because I was never going to remember his name. But this is the guy that tried to kill Mayor Nakano, and Nakano's with his wife in the audience being like, what the F? What's this shit?
It's Nero was at 19, right?
19.
Nero 19. And so there's a lot of reactions to this. He's making a big song and dance about results, about treatment, not punishment, all that kind of thing. And he's playing nice with Dr. Chase when they get out of the lobby, and she's like kind of there to keep him in check and all the rest of it. He's playing nice. I don't trust him for a second though. He seems
but here's the thing with him is it does feel different than anything else that we've gotten with a Doctor in Arkham, right? Like, it really does feel like rehabilitation here. And it seems like he's not doing anything cagey in this moment.
It seems like that's what it wants to feel, but I've seen enough of these exact stories where I'm like, okay.
Basically, I feel like Deb does in the next scene, which is that the fact that he's putting on this conference and trying to show off all this good work rather than just doing it is suspicious. And then the fact that she adds on that she can't find any like records of what they're actually doing or where his like expertise comes from.
Just his medical license is non-existent.
Yeah, that's a pretty important part of the puzzle.
Which made me wonder what's up with Dr. Ware. Like,
I'm going to guess a lot.
Yeah, because I feel like we should know who he is, right? Like, I feel like Ware's a pseudonym.
It does feel like an alias of sorts, but I don't know if it's for someone that we know.
Yeah, right. The reason why I would doubt it, I would agree with it if it wasn't for the fact that later in the issue he dies, seemingly. So
seemingly.
And obviously we're going to see a lot of him because we're jumping back and forth in time. But if he is truly dead, and he's just here because so that he can die at the end of his story, then that's fair enough. Then he's just a new character that's going to die. But
true.
That's interesting. So yeah, Kate's still working with Deb, and they're exchanging some notes. Some press investigation mixed with some bat news, as Deb calls it. what's the bad news?
I love the look of that scene because Race's art. It takes me back to pre-Flashpoint. You know, just it's a certain vibe, and just the look of his Kate sitting across the diner from Donovan. Like, I was getting the warm fuzzies.
Yeah. They're talking about some fancy new drugs that are on the market and might be coming from Arkham. And then we're introduced to one of the patients in Arkham. I don't know if this is someone that we're really supposed to know.
We met her last week. That's Anna Holgen.
Oh, sure, of course. That makes sense.
She's the one that killed the people, and then Steph.
Yeah.
You know.
And she's doing arts and crafts, right? And I can see on the table, in fact, she's actually holding them at one point. She's holding a pair of scissors, and I'm like, who's giving these patients scissors? You idiots! What are you doing?
Hey, I mean, if they've earned it, right?
They're clearly, safe enough with them. You have to assume.
We literally cut to day 24 after this, where she's walking down a hallway with scissors covered in blood.
But that's day 24. This is day 7. There's weeks of time yet for her to go off the rails.
Yeah.
She's perfectly fine on day 7. there's like two plus weeks of treatment to screw up yet.
She's fine-ish, but I do that the pizza arts and crafts she's doing is from the first page. It's that tarot card-esque, the tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she has it cut, you know. It's very, very not suspicious. It's the word I'm looking for. You know, where it's like this is gonna happen. Like they're hinting at it.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, but there's another word for it. They can't. Ominous. It's very ominous.
Ominous. Okay, there you
go.
Yeah. No, I mean, I kind of like that Anna Vulcan came back, actually, because I took her as just an example of like someone who's going to Arkham last issue, but if she's actually going to be like a prominent figure in the story, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we talked about Tynion introducing a bunch of new characters during his Bat run, and it sort of feels like Tamaki is being able to do the same thing. That, you know, between Vile and then Nero 19 and now Anna Vulcan, it seems like Tamaki's created a whole roster. And, you know, we know at least Anna Vulcan and Nero 19 from the last part of this. That they're going to be pretty important to the story, you think.
Yeah, and there's a nice thing here because the conversation, even though we switched to Anna Vulcan in the tower, it continues the conversation of Kate and Deb. And Deb's basically saying there's no such thing as miracles, especially in Arkham. And there's a difference between people who are ill or sick and people who are evil, and you can't really stop evil. And it's when you transition to the next page, it cuts to day 24 and points out that Gotham has paid the price for thinking you can many times before. And we get this 2-page spread of like all the police at the bottom of the tower, there's helicopters shining lights in the tower. It basically is like, oh shit, we've got like a Die Hard situation going on here.
It went from Arkham Tower to Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah. So, and I love the bay, the red light. You get the idea the emergency lights are on inside the tower. You see Anna Vulcan stabbing someone with scissors. And as this is all happening, you hear like Oracle just chattering. So we jump into the middle of the story, and it's like, you know, Nightwing, are you there? Stephanie, are you there? Like, these are the people they expect to be inside somewhere at this moment.
Yeah. It took me a second on that page with all the red, like the first one, to realize that was Kate on that third panel. Outside.
Oh, on the outside. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I can see it now. I'm looking for it, but I couldn't at first glance. I didn't see the grappling hook. I just saw what seemed to be a blue outfit and a red cape and red boots. I was like,
Superman?
why is there a super character flying?
Yeah,
like, what's going on? And it was like, it took me a second to go, that's Batwoman from behind. It's just
it's lightning strike. It's like lighting her up a little bit blue. Is the idea?
Yeah, it's just the way, and it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's actually, it makes perfect sense. Once I realized, it just took me a few seconds to kind of figure out what was actually happening in that panel.
Honestly, it's a really nice bit of sequencing to have this kind of like her on her way to the tower, and you just see it in the distance with the lightning and the fog, and it sets this mood and atmosphere on the way. We cut to Nakano, who's freaking out at City Hall that this is all happening.
It's pretty much all he ever does.
I mean, that's true.
Well, that's what happens when you sign up to be the mayor of Gotham City.
Yeah. So they got a negotiator who's not doing very well, obviously, as you expect. I mean, no, probably not. But so Kate's talking to Oracle. We see Anna Vulcan just walking down the hall, proper like. And it's funny that I'm saying this because the backup does have some major Shining references, but this is very much like a Shining-esque moment of her just walking down this hall. So really nice stuff. But yeah, so yeah, you've got like Batwoman on the outside sort of liaising with the cops a little bit, and that's when the body comes flying out one of the high up windows, and they say it's Dr. Ware, who's presumably been thrown out to his death.
Missing a finger.
A ring finger, it looks like.
Yeah, I wonder if there doesn't seem to be a ring on the finger when we see it, but I wonder if maybe they've already taken it off and we're just not being shown that.
Yeah, I mean, she's
I don't mean in the sense of like, it's a wedding ring or anything symbolic like that, but more some sort of signet ring to open,
doors.
It could be. I mean, it is important that he's seen the ring finger.
Is that the finger you typically use if you've got like a finger scanner?
I mean, no, because usually finger scanners just see your pointer, and the ones I've used,
They are, or your thumb. But I mean, there's still a actual like a ring, but like with a mechanism that you put the ring in.
Yeah. There's got to be a reason why they took his finger off like that. Like, wasn't the pointer? It's the ring.
I could buy that she's just snapped his finger off before she threw him out the window as a
Maybe.
Is a little.
Maybe she's there like wiggling the finger and having the scissors and being all sinister. It could just be a case of she's being, terrifying.
Yeah, I can see that. Kate is met up with Cass, who are on a nearby rooftop, and Cass is being all ominous about we can't just because she says, do we scale the tower because we're back characters, let's get scaling. She's like, no, we don't know if there's hostages, if they are, where they are. And Cass is like, or if they're still alive. And I'm like, yeah, I mean that's true, but also very dark.
I do like that as Cass is like, she's not good at communicating,
Yeah, very
she
blunt.
didn't mean it to come off that way. Yeah.
But it still came off that way anyway.
Yeah. And that's when Nightwing finally kind of like chimes in over the comms. And it turns out that Steph and Huntress are also both in the building somewhere. He's not seen them. It seems like a lot of chaos has just went down. I love the sequencing here as he's talking. Like, so we see him in the comms. He's clearly not an outfit. He's in whatever undercover outfit he was wearing. And the panels, we get these panels just sort of looking down the hall at the elevator as the doors are opening, and we're getting closer to it. It's like, this is like a horror version of Die Hard. Is basically what I described this as so far.
Yeah.
Super effective, really cool stuff. And then that's actually the last page of the main story is we see a woman of some kind bleeding on top of the elevator inside the shaft.
Profusely.
The implication from the dialogue being that it's Huntress.
I would say that too. I would say that the lighting and the coloring makes her hair not look like dark like Huntress's hair.
Well, what I'm going to suggest, because she looks like she's wearing inpatient gear, like like she's a patient there. She may be also undercover, Dick
as
there
as
a worker and her there as a patient. So maybe they've dyed her hair as well to disguise her a bit.
Yeah, I suppose to give. I mean, this could be either Huntress or Steph, really. But I will say the idea that the colouring changes the blood to purple as it goes down to the bottom of the page would also maybe be a hint that it's one of them. Just as a nice little touch.
Purple, yeah.
Yeah, the length of the hair looks like it could be Huntress.
I mean, if it's a wig, it doesn't really matter with the length, I suppose.
It's not. I'm assuming it's not a wig because I'm assuming that would be found out pretty quickly in this sort of facility.
True.
But I mean, who knows? We'll find out next week.
Yeah.
So we have Dick, Helena, and Steph inside.
Yeah.
And then we got Babs, Kate, Cass, and then any other Robins.
I don't know if they're going to be.
I think Tim's showing up at some point.
Yeah, but they're not featured as of yet. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, this issue more than anything else is a bit of mood, and it sets the stage for like what the predicament is. But we're still a little bit unclear exactly what they've done, other than just that they've taken control of the tower and they've got hostages. So I mean, that's something I'm presumably we're going to like play out and see snippets of.
And why?
And I think it's interesting we do start in day 7 because it means that we can go further back to something important that maybe like plants a seed for the story when it's relevant.
Necessary,
yeah. So there's room there for all that stuff. Yeah, I had a blast with this pretty much.
It was a lot of fun.
Only real complaint is that I kind of want more of it, and I think it's good that it's weekly because I'll get it
next week.
I think it's paced knowing that it's weekly.
Yeah.
If this was a monthly thing, I'd be not that I'd be knocking points off it, but I would say it would be paced, not amazingly for a monthly comic, but knowing that there's an issue next week, I think it's paced more appropriately for that.
Yeah. So I'm excited for next week. And like I said last time, I'm just glad that all these characters are getting to star together in an ensemble. It's just a nice touch.
I do like the idea of Detective being the ensemble bat book. It's a nice feeling. Takes me back to early Rebirth.
It's interesting as well because I think this is kind of the first story that we've got that's kind of the post-Tynan stuff. Tynan posted his final Bat newsletter this past week, and it was clear from that just how much he was driving the entire Bat line, like Detective as well. All the stuff with Bruce in the city, all those scenes that we had of Bruce just like in the apartment and meeting Deb and those ideas of him kind of having neighbors and being a schlub.
Yeah.
That was all stuff that Tynan wanted to write but couldn't fit it into his Bat book. So it was like, that'll go over to Detective.
Oh, nice.
So it'll be interesting to see now, okay, what do they do from here? Now that someone else is calling the shots, so probably will go in a fairly different direction.
Yeah, no, curious to see. So the backup's there as well, and what's that's funny actually. I realized as I was putting out last week's episode that we didn't actually talk about the backup in the last issue, and I read it.
We didn't.
Yeah, and I read it. It just slipped my mind, and we just kind of moved on.
Okay.
But there wasn't.
Because usually for me, that's code that you didn't read it, and we're just moving on. So that's why
I did read it. I just forgot about it. And it was just the last part of the teasing of the tower, and the guy wanting to take it down.
The guy wanting to take it down, and Harley trying to be like a judge in that.
There wasn't, honestly, there wasn't much to it. I didn't really feel bad that we didn't talk about it, because it was basically just the tower's here. Batman's got out of his little psychedelic funk, and here we are. There wasn't much more to it than that. But this backup here is interesting because we have a very cool creative team on this.
Okay.
We got Blanco on the art.
I believe this is the creative team for all of the backups as well.
Yeah, so this is a 12-part backup, basically. Yeah. So you got Blanco on the art, and you got Rosenberg writing the story here. And it's going to be Arkham related, although we don't really see till the very end of it how it's tying into Arkham necessarily. It's just a story of this kid, a ginger, no less.
Possibly Nero 19?
Oh yeah, that would be.
That was my thoughts. It never obviously names it, but I thought maybe.
Yeah.
But basically, this dad comes home and he's like freaking out. We need to turn off the lights. We need to, pack a bag, leave as soon as possible. And the wife's like, "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding." But of course, the person that he's pissed off is the Joker.
Yes. Never a good sign.
Yeah, who comes knocking, and they hide the kid in the closet. But honestly, some of my favorite stuff of this stuff is the Joker murders the parents, and the kid's hiding in the closet, and the Joker's getting an axe. There's a lot of Shining references. He's outright quoting it as he's like busting down the door. But my favorite part of all this is that when he sees the dinosaur toy after he's murdered the parents, is just when he's walking around, he goes, I never took him for a dinosaur man. Unless there's someone else. Talking to himself as he's sort of like. He knows there's someone else there, but he's kind of like going through this motion of pretending to he's figuring it out for the sake of the kid hearing him. I enjoyed that part. I thought that was really well written.
And then Batman shows up just in time.
Yeah.
Well, also, the
for the kid, not obviously for the parents.
Yeah.
Well, the kid hiding in the closet with a gun, ready to take Joker out.
Well, what's cool about though is that he doesn't go out. Like, he finds the gun in there because there's a moment beforehand where the dad's looking for his gun and he can't find it, and then the kid just sort of stumbles on it when he's in there. Honestly, that art is maybe some of the best stuff in the backup. Is like the kid just like holding up the gun when he's inside the closet, and you can see all the lines of light.
I think obviously Blanco is great, and we spent a long time praising Blanco on every issue of Catwoman they did over the past couple of years. But I think what sells this backup for me is Bel-Air's colors. The really flat colors just make it feel very different to kind of everything else that we've had recently.
Well, there's that. And then the very first panel where everything feels like, until the dad comes in, it seems very dreamlike.
Yeah,
like,
it's storybook.
Another time.
Kind of.
Right. And then he comes in and now it's the real world. And it's just the subtle difference of the inks and the color.
Yeah, it completely shifts. So obviously Batman has no trouble like disarming the kid because he's Batman. But the rest of the story is basically that no one has like a solution for where this kid should go. Like social services are like closed down for the night. Like Gordon's asking what he should do with them, so he ends up putting them with two uniforms, and like it's just a series of panels of like different people, like basically like just passing them on to the next person, and not even out of cruelty. It's more just Gordon's got like Joker to go hunt, like he's got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And the end of the story is that they're actually putting them in Arkham for the time being, which is just messed up. Like you're treating that as your like go-to orphanage, given who's there. So it's a bad sign.
There's no way this kid grows up to be healthy after that.
No.
The panel where there's no one to go, the second panel with the ambulance, is that Christmas Allen?
I believe it is. That's what I thought it looked like anyway.
I thought so too.
So that's where we want to look about when the time frame is. That's in Batman time, it's a little bit far back.
Yeah,
so,
I mean in real time it's probably like 20 years, but in Batman time,
maybe 10.
Maybe 10.
Like I also kind of feel if you look at the Joker, he seems early kind of Joker. like with the the tie.
It's why I thought this kid could be Nero.
Right. But yeah, I saw him standing there, and I was like, oh, that's got to be Christmas Allen from Gotham Central.
If it isn't Nero, then I suspect it is someone else that we're going to be introduced to.
Yeah.
In the main story as an adult. That'd be my guess. But yeah, so it's nice that the backup, it's got a good creative team, but it's going to complement the main story in some way, because it is going to delve into some Arkham stuff. So.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe it's Dr. Ware, who knows, maybe...
That was my thought too, but I feel like, I don't know.
He seems older. I admit he seems like he's in his 40s or whatever, so he seems a bit older, but...
Yeah, I don't buy him being a kid when Batman's running around.
But, I mean... I don't know, maybe staying in Arkham while you were a kid ages you quickly.
Yeah, like...
Grow up fast.
Add some
don't grow up at all.
Yeah. So we'll rate both the main story and the backup. I think they both deserve separate ratings.
Okay.
Matt, what are you giving them?
So I'm giving the main an 8.5, and I'm also giving the backup an 8.5.
Sounds like you had a good time reading the comic.
Yeah.
Connor?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with the same.
Yeah, I can't really fault. I might slip the backup down to an 8, but that's like a minor nudge. And maybe it's just because, like, as much as I enjoyed some of the Joker stuff, when I saw it was the Joker that was coming, I was like, oh, another Joker story. There was like a slight amount of, another one, okay. But I mean,
but how much trauma in Gotham is Joker responsible for?
Oh, for sure. Like, especially since it doesn't necessarily feel like the rest of the story might be that focused on Joker. I mean, just be.
No.
I don't think it will be at all, to be honest. I think he's just there he's the inciting incident.
Yeah, yeah, that makes some sense. So no, so this 12-week epic is off to a delightful start. So we'll be back next week with part 2.